Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at management, but definitely not as some dry textbook concept. Think of it more as a universal playbook for coordinating human effort and ultimately achieving success. Whether you're running a local bakery or a massive multinational corporation, getting people to work together effectively, that's the ultimate game. So, we're going to unpack the classic theories of management that literally built the foundation of modern business.
But first, I want you to think for a second about how huge organizations actually function without just falling apart into total chaos. Seriously, how do thousands of people, all with totally different skills and personalities, manage to row in the exact same direction? Well, it doesn't happen by accident, right? It happens through the systematic application of management principles.
So, before we go any further, we kind of need to define what a principle actually is. Simply put, it's a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior. In the business world, these are your universal guidelines. Think of them like the rules and strategies in a game of cricket. By following these established techniques, managers don't have to just guess and operate on trial and error. They have a proven playbook to make really effective decisions.
Managing the crew of a massive luxury cruise liner might seem vastly different from coordinating the flight crew of a commercial jet, right? But the foundational rules of management, how you delegate tasks, how you maintain discipline, how you align the team, they remain exactly the same. These principles are flexible, they're behavioral, and they're universally applicable across literally any industry.
All right, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, the universal game, then Fail's macro strategy, followed by the 14 principles. After that, we'll hit Taylor's micro-tactics, his scientific techniques, and finally wrap up with the modern legacy.
Let's jump into Section 1, the universal game.
The absolute crucial point here is that management harmonizes everything to hit strategic goals that align with an organization's vision and mission. It's the engine that drives planning, organizing, staffing, coordinating, and controlling. Without management stepping in as that ultimate harmonizer, all your machines, materials, and money, they just sit there gathering dust, completely uncoordinated and unproductive.
Moving right along to Section 2, Fail's macro strategy.
Let's meet our first legendary head coach, Henry Fayol. Before getting into the weeds of his specific rules, it's really helpful to contrast Fayol with our other featured thinker, Frederick Taylor, just to see how totally differently they viewed the board. Fayol took this administrative, macro-level strategy. He looked at the organization from the top down, focusing heavily on how executives and managers should govern the whole company. Taylor, on the other hand, he was all about micro, on-the-field, scientific tactics. He looked from the bottom up, starting right there on the factory floor.
Let's check out Section 3, the 14 principles.
Now, what's truly staggering here is the sheer volume of Fayol's foundational work. After conducting tons of experiments and observations, Fayol published 14 distinct principles in his famous book, General and Industrial Administration. These 14 statements were designed to serve as the ultimate logical guideline for managerial decision-making. Now, we won't cover all 14 today, but we absolutely need to focus on a few critical ones. Division of work is just like giving specific plays to specific athletes in a cricket match based on their unique capabilities. It builds expertise. Then you have unity of command, which means every employee should receive orders from just one superior, to avoid utter confusion. Scalar chain establishes a super clear hierarchy of communication from top to bottom. And my personal favorite, esprit de corps, which simply means union is strength. Fayol knew that running an organization is a group activity, and building mutual trust and teamwork is the absolute most valuable asset a manager can cultivate.
Shifting gears entirely, let's hit Section 4, Taylor's micro-tactics.
Stepping off the executive balcony and down onto the factory floor, we meet our second coach, Frederick Winslow Taylor, famously known as the father of scientific management. Taylor's whole philosophy wasn't born in some comfortable boardroom. It was forged in the heat of the Midvale Steelworks in Philadelphia. He literally started as an American machinist and through rigorous hard work climbed all the way to chief engineer. His entire approach was based on real scientific data, thorough observation, and running actual experiments on the ground to see how work was truly being done. Taylor wanted to completely eliminate the guessing games of trial and error. His core belief, scientific management, consists of knowing what you want men to do exactly and seeing it that they do it in the best and the cheapest manner.
He believed that every single decision, no matter how small, even just loading iron sheets in the boxcars, could and absolutely should be scientifically planned.
All right, Section 5, Scientific Techniques. To build a system of absolute efficiency, Taylor introduced this concept called work study, which systematically analyzed every single aspect of a job. Time study recorded the precise time it took to complete an element of work just to set a baseline standard. Method study found the single best, most cost-effective way to do the task. Motion study observed human and machine movements to cut out anything unnecessary. And finally, fatigue study managed working hours and breaks to reduce physical and mental stress, keeping that operational efficiency sky high. And to ensure absolute perfection in executing these studies, Taylor introduced a concept called functional organization. He realized that planning and implementation really shouldn't be done by the same people. So he separated them entirely, recommending an 8-foreman system. 4 foremen handled the planning, like routing the work and tracking time and costs, and 4 entirely different foremen supervised the actual implementation on the floor, ensuring speed, managing repairs, and inspecting quality. But Taylor knew that the best system in the world just won't work without motivation. So he invented the differential piece rate wage plan. Under this system, standard output was scientifically set. If an employee completed more work than the standard, boom, they were offered a higher wage rate. If they performed below the standard, they got a lower rate. It was a direct, calculated financial incentive to really motivate workers to hit and exceed that scientifically determined standard. Let's bring it all together in Section 6, the modern legacy. We live in an era of globalization and rapid environmental changes, which has massively widened the scope of management. But the foundational ideas of Fayol and Taylor, they're absolutely still the base. Because of their pioneering work, management has expanded into highly specialized, vital modern trends. Things like disaster management, supply and logistics, stress management, and corporate social responsibility. They prove that with the right principles, human effort can be structured to tackle incredibly complex, modern challenges. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. And I want to leave you with this provocative thought. When you're managing your own time, your team, or your next big project, which coach do you naturally align with? Do you prefer Fayol's top-down, administrative style of broad principles and team unity, or are you more drawn to Taylor's hyper-efficient, data-driven science of optimizing every single motion? Understanding which playbook you lean towards is the very first step in mastering the universal game of management. Thanks for joining me.